So many of my close friends have been going to ancestry.com, searching out their genealogy and maps all over the world to find out where their ancestors, who their ancestors are, who are they. They get a DNA profile and go, wait a minute, where did this come from? This foreign country come from? And how does that affect who I am as a person? And it has everything to do with who we are in our human experience. However, when this human experience is done, is run its lifetime and expires, then our soul body leaves that no longer viable body, crosses over, and goes to the other side where it heals and waits a life review. And in that life review, we get to look back and say, okay, what have I learned from my journey as a human? And what haven't I learned that maybe I need to pay attention to? Maybe there can still be more learning in afterlife. And a lot of times in afterlife, we have an opportunity to learn more, continue to learn even things that we haven't completed in our earthly experience, and heal even further. The goal is to learn and heal as much as possible. It's not ever to punish or to keep a karmic scorecard and hold that against us, and say, oh, you've got karmic debt that you're going to have to now leech onto some other lifetime and make up that debt. You got a bill that has to be paid. You're overdue. So it doesn't work that way. We're all about healing and learning and evolving. And we may end up taking another human life in time. We may decide to do that if we feel there are still things that we need to learn, or maybe there are new goals we want to work on and need a human experience in order to learn and evolve from those ideas and those goals. So we take another human life. Now, that human life that we take again may have nothing to do geographically, culturally, or in any way, shape, or form with our last prior life. Um, so I'm in my 68th lifetime, human lifetime, and in that 68th lifetime, I'm having the opportunity, I've been prompted to explore some of my past lives, thus this video about past lives, because I've learned a lot about them by doing these past life regressions and working with others in their past lives, because EMDR and hypnotherapy seem to bring us there at times when it's indicated. And sometimes people also come in and they know there's something that needs to be explored and will go there and it will turn out to be a past life. So what is this past life stuff? Our soul in our human incarnation has memories. Just as we have human memories of this current lifetime, our soul has memories of its past lives, past human lives, and other lives beyond human lives. So the soul wants to evolve. That's the purpose of being us now, is to learn life lessons and evolve and grow. And by sharing these very sacred memories with us of other experiences that our soul has gone through and journeyed through, we get to learn about ourselves from those other life lessons. So we have our own life lessons, and we've already done a set of life lessons in a past life, and we can learn the lessons of that past life. And our soul wants us to learn those lessons, especially if they teach us about our current situation and our current life. And oftentimes, the past life experiences that we're privy to have everything to do with our current life in terms of the lesson. So it's a great way to grow and evolve as a person and as a soul. So we get to do a lot of things. Now, one of the things that I didn't mention about afterlife is that we don't have a karmic scorecard held over us and say, you have got a karmic debt, you've got a bill to pay, you got to go leech on to some other life, future life, and repay that debt before you can do anything else. And so we're taught in my hypnotherapy training that you need to expose these past lives and release this person by cutting the cords of that lifetime so that we're released of that karmic debt load. I find that's not true. That there shouldn't be any cord cutting, that there is no karmic debt. This is not what this is about. Um, we're all about evolving and growing and learning, and it's not about a scorecard, and it's not about debt loads and things like that. If we haven't learned through this lifetime, then we'll have another opportunity when we cross over, and we'll have another opportunity if we need to in taking another life. We don't leech on to someone else's life. One life is completed at a time. And there may be many, many things we need to learn in life, but certainly I know that as a trauma therapist, people have been born into very traumatic lives and ask why? Why me? Why did that happen? And when we get done in hindsight, they will look back and say, I don't have regret for what I've experienced because I wouldn't be who I am now if not for having been through those experiences. And so what that's telling me is they've learned from their traumatic lifetime. They've learned from those experiences. That's the purpose of a soul taking a human life, is to learn from that experience. And that's the same thing if we go and do a regression and we step into another life that is traumatic. We want to pay attention and see why we're being shown that. Why are we being privy to that experience? And we may suffer as we experience it. And then say, well, why am I being shown that? What's the message? What's the lesson? Because there is a lesson. And if we stay with that lesson and not cut the cords and move with that lifetime through its whole life, including afterlife, we will discover a magnificent lesson, an epiphany will happen. We'll have a magnificent lesson that we needed to get, that we needed to learn, that has everything to do with our current life. And we'll not want to discard this life and throw it away. We'll actually bring it in and embrace it lovingly as one of our lives, one of our memories that we're sharing now with our soul. So our soul has a memory of this lifetime, and now we're sharing that memory with our soul. And so we're getting to know our soul a little bit better in that they're sharing some of their memories, some of their story with us. When someone says, "Who are we?" we tell them our story. That's who we are. That's how we self-identify. And if we would ask our soul, "Who are you, soul?" Well, our soul says, "Well, do some past life regressions and I'll show you who you are." This is sort of like the ancestry.com of our soul. So let me take you on an example of such. So sometimes people are prompted they know they need to do this work. They are prompted. They have things come up, deja vu experiences. They go on vacation somewhere and they're like, my gosh, I've been there and I'm feeling like I've got a history there, and it's not a good history. Something happened there and I don't know what this is. Why am I thinking that way? Why do I have this idea? And that's a sign that, yeah, maybe we were there. And that's that feeling that there's this knowing that there's some other part of us, yet it's me that's experiencing that. When the Brett Kavanaugh hearings were happening, the Supreme Court Justice approval hearings were happening, there was a survivor who was alleged sexual assault by him, and she was being interrogated by senators. And I was watching this and experiencing symptoms of sexual assault that my clients often experience, since I'm a trauma therapist. The feeling of nausea, the feelings in my body like I was violated, and the fear, and I felt this in my body, and I know that never happened to me, but I was experiencing it. And when I explored it deeply, the word slavery came up, and then I knew, okay, this isn't about what's going on right now, or it may have a relation to what's going on right now, but there's something I need to explore that may be a past life. What was going on in my practice was an ebb and flow in my practice, and when someone would cancel an appointment, I would have a pit in my stomach and feel fear. And even though my practice always rebounds, and that's part of it. Sometimes there are seasons where people go on vacation, but I would feel this fear and this sense of limitation, and I couldn't get out. I would be stuck with that feeling, and that's what I was experiencing at that time. It was a prolonged sense of scarcity going on in my practice, and financially feeling that. And I was like, ugh, this doesn't feel good. And it felt like a sense of limitation, and that I wasn't experiencing the unlimitedness that I want to experience, the limitlessness, the limitless capacity, unlimited capacity that I am. That's what I want to experience all the time. I don't want to experience limitation. So I decided to do a past life regression to explore this slavery. And I didn't know whether I was going back to ancient Egypt or to the Civil War, or I didn't know where I was going with this, but I went, and lo and behold, when you cross over, so we do this with hypnotherapy if we want to deliberately go back to a past life. And it's interesting because you're time traveling, and you go through this threshold where you step into the body of who you were when we're doing a human regression, a human past life regression. You're stepping into this human person, this being of who you were in a past life. And you feel everything that they feel. You experience what they experience. You are them. And at the same time, it's a dual experience. You are you as well. And you can talk to this person and ask them questions, but you experience everything that they experience. And it's like you are them, but now. And their past, whether it's hundreds and hundreds of years or thousands of years, is happening right now at this moment. So, so when I did this past life regression, I stepped into the black bare feet of a young 9-year-old slave in Georgia on a cotton plantation. And this information comes in bits and pieces, and then it flows in, and then I got more information afterwards. So I noticed a sharp pain in my left ankle where there was a cut, an open sore from a shackle that was wrapped around my leg and cutting into my skin, and it hurt. And that's the first thing I noticed. And as I came up my body and noticed who I was and how I was dressed and feeling the scratchy burlap of a cotton bag on my shoulder. And it was a hot day and I was sweating profusely. Flies were bothering me. The cotton plants were taller than I was. There was this profound sense of grief that overcame me. And the information that came in was that I had just lost a male family member, perhaps my father or brother. And it seemed to be by the hand of the person that was sitting on a horse with a shotgun right near me, with a cowboy hat on, who was making sure that I continued to work even though I was grieving and feeling horrible, horrible grief. It was traumatic. It was a deep sense of, I don't know what, but it was dread. It was grief. It was pain. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. I felt everything this 9-year-old girl was feeling. And after staying with it for a bit, I asked her to show me something else. I said, I know I'm here for a reason. And I know there's probably other parts of your life that I'm supposed to see. So I asked her to switch me to a different scene in her life. She obliged, and the next thing you know, she was older, I was older, a young mother, now a big scar down my forehead, permanently there. I had a little white baby, obviously born of rape, and a black baby, a newborn, against my skin. And I got at once the sense of her history and felt all the oppression that had been laid on her through slavery. And wow. And I said to her, okay, I got this. I can feel this oppression, and I get everything that's happened to you through slavery. But why am I here? What is my lesson? And she looked at me and said, when I hold this newborn baby up against me, against my chest, and I feel the love between me and that baby, and she says, when I go inside that love, when I go in that love, there's no slavery. There are no shackles. And I shook immediately. The energy that ran through me was amazing. I shook all over as I immediately applied the limitation that I was experiencing to her slavery and to her resolution of this. This is what her soul learned. And it was magnificent to cut through slavery with love. And I thanked her, and I got her name before I left. Her name was Anna Brown, and I learned all about her after I left her. What plantation she was at, what year she was around, and I learned all about that plantation, which happened to be one of the biggest plantations in the United States, and also the closest thing to a concentration camp in America that we've ever had. But I didn't cut the cords of Anna Brown. I didn't throw her away. Instead, I sat with that experience and integrated Anna Brown into me. And Anna Brown's memories are my memories, and they're my soul's memories. And I learned a little bit more about who I am as a soul, and I learned certainly a lot more about who I am as a person. And I learned a lot. I just evolved from that. I evolved from taking that lesson into me. So that's an example. And Anna Brown is still part of my consciousness, part of my awareness and my decision making, and part of my current awareness as a human and as a soul. So that's an example of a past life regression and how we can learn. If I had cut the 9-year-old off and said, I'm cutting the cords, this feels terrible, I'm cutting the cords to free myself of that, I would have never heard Anna's story. And that's what we want to get. We want to get the story and the lesson, whether it's in their lifetime or in their afterlife. It could be an afterlife. Sometimes it's been that way, and that's fine. It's still amazing. It's still powerful. It's still incredible, an incredible time travel experience that's visceral and full of information, full of detail that we could never imagine. We could never make this stuff up. And yet, there's no empirical evidence that I'm not making it up. It just doesn't feel that way. It feels more like a memory. And it's what I've come as to doing so many regressions now. I've learned and evolved so much. I know these are my soul's memories, and I know that to be the truth. And I don't have any evidence beyond knowing. So I'm hoping that this sheds some light on what past life regressions are about. And past life regression therapy is doing the work to learn about who you are as a soul. It's the ancestry.com for your soul, basically. It's amazing. It's better than getting on a boat and traveling someplace, because you're traveling not only to different parts of the world, but to different experiences as well, different vocations, different genders and races. I've been in the Sung Dynasty as an artist, and even an artist that I adored. I had been a survivor in Hiroshima and learned from that. And I've had many other past life experiences that were absolutely amazing and traumatic and wonderful. All of them had amazing lessons. They all had that in common. So I hope that this was full of information for you and new information. And if you like what you've got, I hope to make more videos like this. And I hope you will like my channel and subscribe and keep coming back.